Alright guys, I'm here with Jason, who is going to help me teach you how to do this quad release technique. And the person getting stepped on will assume the position that Jason is in, which is sitting on the mat, legs out in front of him. He's supporting himself with his arms. So you can go ahead and take that position if you're the person getting stepped on. And then I'm going to be doing the stepping on right now. So I've got this chair here to balance with. So I'm going to be using my left hand here just to balance. I'm not going to be leaning on it. And then I am going to be stepping on his right quad with my left foot. Now, doing it with your right foot isn't wrong or bad in any way, but I find that using the left foot on the right quad is more effective. So I'm going to suggest that you do it that way. And then when I get to his left quad, I'm going to use my right foot. And what this does is basically allow the hard edge of my foot to meet the slope of his leg, thus kind of grabbing the tissue there, so we get the best results. So if I did it with my right foot here, you can see how my arch is going to just cup his leg, and we don't really grab it as well. So again, like I said, it's not wrong, it's just going to be a little less effective. So if you find that you're stepping on somebody and they're just like in excruciating pain when you do it, even if you're trying to use really light weight, if you're using your left foot, you could try your right for their left leg. It's an option, but I do recommend trying to learn this with the kind of rule that I just gave you, and then adjust accordingly. So you always want to start with light weight. You can always add more, but as you're learning the technique, I want you to get a feel for what you're trying to do before you try to add more weight, because I want the person getting stepped on to be safe, and I want you to feel safe in your body as well. And if you're trying to like push in or mash their tissue with your body and your force, you could end up hurt, you could end up hurting them, and we don't want that, of course. So use very, very lightweight to start until you get a hang for it, and then add a little bit more. So I'm going to start close to his knee and just kind of test and palpate here with probably 1 to 2 pounds of weight ending up on his leg. Very, very, very light. And we're just testing for areas of density, potentially, you know, suggesting there could be an adhesion there. And I don't want to go right on his kneecap, obviously, and not even necessarily an inch or two above it, because that's too close to the knee. So I'm going to recommend that you start maybe a good 4 inches away from the knee, and then also make sure you're asking if their knee feels safe. If you're the person getting stepped on and your knee doesn't feel safe, please tell your partner. So once you're done testing and you feel like you have a good spot, you'll just shift your weight forward a little bit from the hips to add weight. Now I've probably added 10 pounds maybe. It's pretty light. And then I'm gonna have Jason, or you in this case, if you're getting stepped on, you're going to roll your legs in and then out as Jason is about to do. So in and out, boom. And you can see there's a clunk here, or an adhesion. And that is really what we're looking for with kinetics. We're looking for those adhesions and we want to break them up. So, boom, boom. Okay, so now that we did the first spot, we're just gonna keep moving up the leg. So I'm probably gonna go an inch higher. That's not a lot higher, but we want to cover our bases here. So I was probably about here before, and now I'm gonna go right about here. So there's almost some overlap, but the part of my foot that's doing the work is grabbing some new tissue here. And then he's gonna do the same thing. So he's going in and out. And if you can see the way my leg is moving, the rest of my body is staying stationary, but my leg is almost acting like a pendulum where his movement is moving me. I am not doing this movement. I've noticed in videos of this work, it almost looks like sometimes like I'm pushing him in and then pulling him out and pushing him in, but that's not what's happening. His movement is moving me. So it's really important that you do the work that way. A, because it's gonna keep you safe. So I'm not actually having to do much work. Just, you know, have to have a tight core and I have to hang out, but he's moving me back and forth. And secondly, it's gonna feel really safe to him, because if you're the person getting stepped on and someone is trying to like pin you down to the floor, you're not going to be able to move. Or if they're kind of like mashing you around, it's going to feel like something coming in that you're going to want to resist. So it's really just to get the best result, adding the weight, hanging out, his movement is gonna move me. So that's spot number 2. I'm gonna move this chair and go on to spot number 3. So we're gonna go a little higher here. And I just wanna point out that so far, we've been going on him, and this is kind of true for his body type. If you're working on someone with a different body type, this might be different, but I'm not directly on top of his quad, and I'm not all the way out at the side, but I'm kind of in between. And that's what I would recommend that you start off with while learning this technique. And then when we get to the hip flexors, things are going to change a little bit. So with this last one, for kind of the regular quad before I get into the hip flexors, I'm still going to keep that angle. So I'm not directly on top, and I'm not all the way out at the side, but I'm slightly in between. So if I were to draw his quad into quadrants, if this is one and his pant seam here is the other one, I'm trying to grab kind of this tissue, but there's some overlap where my foot rests above it. But really we're kind of going after this, because when he moves out, he's going to put my foot into this inner tissue, and then when he moves in, he's going to put my foot into this outer tissue, and we're going to get both. So, last one, in and out, same thing. Some nice clunkage, Jason. Yep. So we've had clunks or adhesions on all 3 spots on him. You might not have that with whoever you're stepping on, but don't assume you don't when you're first learning this work. It's actually a lot harder than it looks to get those adhesions. But the quad technique is one of the easiest to try it on, and see if you can find those adhesions and get them to actually clunk and release. And now we are going to go to the quad hip flexors, which is my favorite technique. And if I had to pick only one for everybody in the world to do, at least everybody in the Western world that sits a lot and overuses their quads, it's going to be this one, and that's the quad hip flexor. Now I've got a little tool with me, Tools of Titans right here. It's going to be my tool. Does that mean I'm a Titan? Anyhow, I'm going to use this book to stand on, and I've actually just tried it out and ruled it in as, pretty safe. But so if you happen to have this exact book, then I can kind of vouch for the safety of using it for this one. Now, other books are potentially going to be slippery, or if they're a paperback book, they might slide, like the pages might glide if you stand on it. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend any book, but if you happen to have a book like this, that's about this height, it's going to work out pretty well for you. Of course, you could always order Tools of Titans just for the purpose of doing this technique. Why not? All right, thank you, Tim Ferriss. So I'm going to put this right here. I want it to face this way so that my whole foot can, stand on the book here. Still using my left foot, and where we're targeting here on the quad hip flexors is really anything in this top region is what I would consider the quad hip flexor. So anything you feel in here is up for grabs on this one, and you may even want to play around and find 2 to 3 spots till you figure out, whoever you're stepping on is going to have like their spot. And you may not know exactly where it is to begin with, so go ahead and play around with it, take your time, try a few different spots. The movement that the person getting stepped on is going to do on this one is different. So what Jason is going to do after I add weight is a circle with his toes, trying to draw as big a circle as he can with his toes with both legs, both feet. And then his legs are going to roll with his feet. So it is going to look like this. So I'm going to find my spot here. I'm going to go there. Yep, it's a good one. And again, I don't have that much weight on him, maybe 10 pounds. And then he's going to do these circles. So pointing as hard as he can, and then he's letting his leg roll to the left and now to the right. And then I'm going to have you reverse directions, Jason. So you'll want to do it like 3 or 4 times one way, and then 3 or 4 times the other way. And this is just a very good technique that has ramifications all the way down to the feet. It's going to release all that fascia. It's a good one. So that was probably like the lowest spot I could do on him, but if I wanted to try a higher one, I'm going to move my little book here. And then I'm gonna go up high. So I probably was just right here on him, and now I'm moving again, maybe 1 inch higher, and we're gonna see what's here. So same circles, and this feels like an even better spot almost, I don't know. And then go the other way. And once you get the hang of this, 2-3 times each way should suffice. And then come off. All right, good job.